Toss-up number 1. In one myth, this animal was created when Xuanwu washed his stomach in a river to dissolve his sins. In Fujian province, many tombs are shaped to look like this animal, possibly because it is thought to find good places for burial. Along with a snake, a black one of these animals represents the north in the 4 symbols. A creature who is half dragon and half this animal, Bishi, is traditionally depicted in plinths for steles that are rubbed for good luck. One of these animals is said to carry the 3 islands of the 8 immortals. After a fight between Gong Gong and Xuanshu causes a flood, Nuwa cuts off the legs of that animal, Ao, to repair the sky. Along with oxen bones, parts of these animals were heated and observed for cracks. For 10 points, name these reptiles whose shells were used in Chinese divination. And those reptiles are turtles or tortoises. Question number 2. In one creation myth of these people, a god creates men from golden insects and women from silver insects, but is later eaten after turning into a deer, resulting in the creation of evil. After a ferryman refused to let 3 gods of disease into the land of these people, a virgin goddess of these people severed his head and inflicted smallpox on his children. A semi-legendary king of these people was said to have been able to summon a bridge of turtles using his bow and arrow, and another king of these people was said to have been born after a tiger lost a contest to a bear who ate mugwort and garlic in a cave for 100 years. Mount Baekdu, a sacred site of these people, was the birthplace of their legendary king Donggung. For 10 points, name these East Asian people who recorded their myths in the Samguk Yusa, which was written during the Goryeo dynasty. And the answer is Koreans, or Korea. Could have accepted Korea, or could have accepted Hanminjok, or Hancha, or answers referring to Jeju Island, or Goryeo, the Goryeo dynasty, until that was read. Toss-up number 3. One of this man's grandsons narrates a passage about him in the Iliad that contains the only mention of writing in the entire work. Through his youngest daughter, this man was also the grandfather of the Trojan hero Sarpedon. This man was sent on increasingly treacherous missions to fight the Solymi and the Amazons by a king who was too afraid of violating Xenia to kill him personally. On the instruction of the seer Pelados, this man sacrificed a bull to his father Poseidon after sleeping in the temple of Athena in order to obtain a golden bridle that he used to capture the creature that created the Hippocrene spring. In a classic display of hubris, this man attempted to fly to the peak of Olympus, but he was thrown off when a gadfly sent by Zeus stung his mount. For 10 points, name this Greek hero who killed the Chimera and tamed Pegasus. And the answer is Bellerophon. Toss-up number 4. In Mapuche mythology, one of these events resulted in the creation of the Sumpal and was caused by a battle between 2 giant snakes. The magical soil Shirong was used in a failed attempt to stop one of these events, after which Gwun was banished to Feather Mountain. The 4 mountains served as advisors to Emperors Gao and Shun during one of these events, another of which was caused by Odin's killing of Ymir. One of these events is eventually stopped by Gun's son Yu the Great, after which he founded the Xia dynasty. In Mesopotamian mythology, Enki helps Unapishtim survive one of these events by instructing him to build the Preserver of Life. Happy personifies a yearly example of one of these events, which is caused by Isis's tears. For 10 points, name these mythological disasters frequently caused by overrunning rivers. And the answer is floods. Toss-up number 5. In a Sioux myth, one of these objects is enchanted to appear overnight through the body of a young man who refused to sleep with an evil sorceress disguised as the man's adopted sister. In the Welsh myth Mothvob Mathonwy, the hero Thelui turns into an eagle after his death and is found by his uncle overlooking a lake on one of these objects. It's not an axe, but one of these objects was a symbol of Perun that represented the world in Slavic mythology. One of these objects is Hessa, that was sacred to Thor, was destroyed by Saint Boniface in the 8th century. An oracle of Zeus at Dodona interpreted the rustling of leaves of this kind of tree to divine the god's will. A passage from Pliny describes a Celtic ritual involving the removal of mistletoe from one of these trees. For 10 points, name this kind of deciduous tree whose acorns were consumed by druids as a way of seeing the future. And those would be oak trees. I could have also accepted Donar's oak or Thor's oak and would have had to prompt on trees. In a myth of these people, an agricultural god used a secret stash of string in order to win the world's first kite flying contest. After an attempted murder by his in-laws, a figure sacred to these people was miraculously nursed back to help with the aid of a fire fueled by a single giant log. That figure worshipped by these people later climbed to heaven on a giant vine with the aid of his grandmother, a cannibalistic goddess of thunder. Deities worshipped by these people are often depicted on god sticks. Several myths about these people were first written down by George Gray while he served as the governor of their home country. According to their myths, the first man was Tiki. These people herald the arrival of the goddess of summer with a ceremonial dance called the haka. For 10 points, name this Polynesian ethnic group, the indigenous people of New Zealand. Those would be the Maori. I would have had to prompt on Polynesians. Next toss-up. A monster with this physical characteristic is killed by his half-brother, the hero Basat, in the Turkic book of Deed Korkut. Though it has nothing to do with size, a character with this physical characteristic steals the abundance-granting cow Glasgavlin and locks his daughter up in a tower on Tory Island. That leader of the Fomorians with this physical feature is eventually killed by his grandson Lu at the Battle of Maitirug. The giant Baelor has this characteristic, which is also held by a figure who killed Acis with a boulder out of jealousy over the nymph Galatea. A god voluntarily gained this characteristic so that he could drink from Mimir's well. Arges, Brontes, and Steripides make up a trio of figures with this characteristic that crafted Hades' helmet and Zeus's thunderbolts. For 10 points, name this physical trait possessed by Polyphemus and all other Cyclops. And the answer is having one eye. I could have also accepted being a Cyclops until that was read, and I would have had to have prompted on just having an evil eye. Toss-up number 8. The Bodhisattva, Manjushri, is most commonly depicted riding one of these creatures. One of these creatures nurses King Gezer in a Tibetan epic. It's not a dog, but according to Okinawan legend, one of these animals caused a boulder to fall from heaven and crush a dragon who was attacking the port of Naha. In Balinese mythology, the demon mother Rangda is in a constant struggle with the heroic spirit King Barong, who resembles one of these animals. In East Asian countries, statues of these creatures always appear in opposite gender pairs, often with the male having an open mouth. An avatar of Vishnu that was half this animal is often depicted in the process of destroying his nemesis, the demon Hiranyakashipu. The national symbol of Singapore is a combination of this animal and a fish. A popular Chinese dance depicts, for 10 points, what maned felines? And those felines would be lions. I could have also accepted Shishi or Shisa until read, or accepted lion statues or lion dance. I would have had to prompt on cat. Toss-up number 9. Evidence on a bowl from the reign of the pharaoh Aha contradicts Manetho's claim that the worship of this deity began during the Second Dynasty. Diodorus describes how this deity and his mother would spend 40 days at Nelopolis before traveling to Memphis. During the reign of Ramses II, people started to bury this deity in the lesser vaults and at its sanctuary in Saqqara. Herodotus describes how after killing this deity, Cambyses II was driven mad as a punishment. Members of the cult of this deity identified him using a series of markings, including a triangle on the forehead. This son of Hathor was considered a herald of Ptah before the Greeks combined him with another anthropomorphic deity. For 10 points, name this Egyptian deity in the form of a sacred bull, later syncretized with Osiris into an anthropomorphic god. And that deity is Apis. I could have also accepted Hapis or Hapi-Ankh, but I could not have accepted a prompt on Serapis. Final toss-up of the video. In one story, the skin of one of these deities turns black after an encounter with a frenzied Shiva who had just been shot by one of Kama's magic arrows. A female one of these deities is honored along with her brother in the festival of Bai-Duj. That god, a daughter of the sun god Surya, is a twin of Yama. One of these deities was called to earth after 60,000 sons of Sagar were killed by the sage Kalipa. After drowning the first 7 of her children with Shantanu, that deity gave birth to a personification of Dyaus named Bhishma. One of these gods was held within the hair of Shiva after threatening to destroy the world and was created from the sweat of Vishnu's feet. One of these gods is often depicted riding her mount Makara, who is half mammal and half fish. For 10 points, name these gods who embody features like the Yamuna and the Ganges. And those would be river gods. I could have also accepted water gods or equivalents for river or water, and I would have had to prompt on Hindu gods.